Just let me know. Okay, so in this video, again, we will talk about 5 questions, okay, which are scenario based. Typically, the chances are that you will see a similar question in the exam. We will dive deep into these questions, trying to understand how the question was made and trying to look at the concepts which are important to understand when we're preparing for PMP exam. So by just looking at one question, we'll try to understand what other variations could be there in the question and what kind of different concepts we should know while we are going through the question. Okay, so the question will be on your screen. Put the answer in the chat box and then we will discuss. All right, so let's discuss this. An organization decided to use Agile approach for the first time in a project. After a few iterations, the project manager, supporting the team performance through multiple iterations, noticed that the team could complete the iteration goals so far, but are not very comfortable with Agile practices followed in the project. Okay, so the scenario is that the organization is using the Agile approach for the first time, and the team members are somehow able to complete the goals, but they're not very comfortable with Agile practices. So what should the project manager do? Make them comfortable. Okay, let's see what the options are. Plan a lessons learned workshop at the end of the project. Okay, see, we don't have to wait till the end of the project to improve something, right? So not a good choice. Plan to discuss at the next iteration review. Iteration review is done to check the product that the team has developed. Okay, we don't discuss people-related problems there. Okay, there is a separate meeting called retrospective where we discuss all those things. But for this, I mean, next iteration review, we will not discuss that because it is for the product review, whatever the team has completed. C, discuss with the team at the next retrospective meeting, right? As we were talking about it, right? Should we do that? Yes, looks like a good choice. Then we go to D, discuss with the team in the next daily stand-up meeting. Okay, see, although it might seem that if you discuss at the daily stand-up meeting, okay, it will be very quick discussion. Like today you are observing the problem and tomorrow morning you are discussing about it. Okay, so you're discussing it very early. But daily stand-up meeting is not for that. Okay, daily stand-up meeting is designed to ensure that the team understands what everybody is doing, and if any problems are being faced, the scrum master or the team would know about it. Okay, so there is a different and very specific purpose for specific meetings. Okay, these kind of discussions on how we can improve should happen at the retrospective meeting. Okay, that's why C is the better choice. Is it clear, everyone? As such, very simple question, very straightforward question. Yeah. Now, what is important to note in this question is that it is talking about multiple different ceremonies in Agile. Okay, ceremonies means different kind of meetings in Agile, and these meetings are done for specific purposes. Right. So meetings and ceremonies will have specific purpose, and we don't do anything else apart from meeting those purposes. Okay, so for example, backlog refinement as a ceremony where the product owner will discuss with their team, everybody would come together. It is done to refine the items in the backlog, understanding more about the user story that has been added to the backlog. So it is done for that, right? So backlog refinement is like reviewing and prioritizing the items in product backlog, ensuring that every item is ready for iteration and sprint planning. Okay, so we don't do anything else there. We just look at the product backlog, typically on the wall where the team members are working. We look at the product backlog and we try to understand more about the user stories. We try to prepare it to be ready so that when required, we can develop it. Second is iteration planning. Okay, iteration and sprint are same thing. Iteration is a general agile concept. Sprint is specific to Scrum framework. Okay, but when we talk about iteration or sprint planning, we are planning for that sprint or iteration, which means we are discussing with the team and deciding what would be the goal for that iteration or sprint. What are the tasks that the team would be completing? Right? Simple and nothing else. Okay. No discussion on progress, no discussion on the problems. We're just planning what we are going to do in the next iterations. We don't do anything else there. Next, daily stand-up or daily scrum. Okay. Daily, the team would meet for 10 to 15 minutes and discuss only three things: the plan for yesterday, the problem that the team members are facing, and plan for today. Nothing else. Okay. You will see such questions in terms of options in the exam. You will see that they're talking about discuss the status at the daily stand-up meeting, discuss this problem at the daily stand-up meeting, just like we saw in the last one. Okay. We don't have to select that. It is very clear that specific meetings and specific ceremonies are with specific purposes. We do only that, whatever the agenda is set for the meeting. Right? Then iteration or sprint review, specifically for reviewing the product, the component of the product that has been developed by the team, the increment that have been completed by the team. Right? So it is prepared to discuss only that. Then iteration and sprint retrospective. This is where the team meets and you don't look at the product. Okay, you don't check the product whether it is working or not. You don't discuss what is your plan for the day. At the retrospective, you discuss how we can improve in the next iteration, how we can improve in the next cycle. Okay, so iteration and sprint retrospectives are okay. This is wrong. I think it is just the same thing. Iteration and sprint retrospective is to ensure that the team is discussing on how they can improve in the next iteration cycle. Okay, so remember this, all the meetings and ceremonies have a specific purpose and we don't do anything else in those meetings. Okay, so whenever you see options in the exam and you see these terms, know that these terms have very specific purposes and only those things would happen in these meetings. Okay, any questions, anyone, before we move to the question number 2?
Just one thing here.
Yeah, please.
In the daily stand-up scrum, right? You mentioned saying that demonstrating the computer.
I think it has gone up and down. Somehow it has gone wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't look at this part.
Okay,
somehow it has completely gone wrong.
Then I understood it because we just discussed over there, right? Only 3 things over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
backlog refinement is for prioritizing the backlog, understanding the user stories, and preparing it for the backlog. Sprint planning is for deciding the goal for the sprint and understanding what are the tasks that we will do. Daily stand up and daily scrum is to discuss 3 things: plan for yesterday, plan for today, and then any problems that team members are facing. Sprint review is to review the product, demonstration of the product. Sprint retrospective, no demonstration of product, no discussion on the plan, just discussing how we can improve in the next iteration cycle. All right. Question number 2. Please go through that and then we will discuss. All right, so let's discuss this. An agile team working on launching a new version of a manufacturing product is contacted by a key stakeholder to add additional feature. The stakeholder claims that this additional feature will be more valuable to users than any other feature currently in the requirements list. Team has already begun planning the iteration for the prioritized features by the product owner. So what's happening? Stakeholder is asking for any additional feature. Team has already started the planning for the iteration. In such circumstances, the question is, how should the project manager respond to this request by the stakeholder? What should be the project manager's response? Let's see. Ask the team to work on the new feature as it is more valuable. Okay. Yes, we do work on more valuable item first, but we don't directly jump to that. Okay. Let the product owner decide that yes, it is the top priority. And if the product owner confirms that it is top priority, they will change the product backlog, they'll prioritize the product backlog, they'll move the user story to the top, and team will automatically know that yes, this is what we have to do. Project manager would not take that decision. Okay, let that decision be taken by the product owner because they're responsible for it. Okay. B, build the product according to the previously agreed customer requirements. That is also wrong. See, if a stakeholder has a concern, if a customer wants to add something, there would be a reason for it. We need to understand that reason. We need to discuss with them and then see whether that change is immediately to be done or it is to be done later, or we have to inform the customer that we will not be able to do it. But you will have to have some discussion, some analysis before saying no to them. This option is like saying no to them. Okay, whatever your concerns are, whatever additional feature that you want, how much ever valuable it is, we'll still be doing it through previously agreed requirements. That is also not a correct thing. Now it is talking about agile, but even if it is about traditional, we will not do that. Okay, we will try to discuss, we'll try to understand, send it through CCP, whatever we do, processes and structure, but we don't say no to that. And we don't say that, okay, this is what we'll do. You keep on thinking about your features. Okay, we cannot do that. Then we come to C. Discuss the details of the new feature and submit a change request to change control board. Right? Now, discussing the detail of new feature is an important part. Okay, submitting a change request to change control board is also important if it was a traditional project. Typically in Agile, we don't form a change control board. Okay, as such, we have a product owner who would take that decision. Okay, it may happen that in your organization you have a change control board. So this might be true, but generally, as you see change control board, you know that this is not a good choice. Okay, then we go to D. Request the product owner to verify the priority and guide the team accordingly. Absolutely, right? If the stakeholder is claiming that it is more valuable, then we need to verify that claim. Is it really more valuable, or the stakeholder has made a mistake or just want to add the feature and that's why they are saying that it is more valuable? Right? So we want to verify that. So requesting the product owner to verify the priority is a better choice. Much better choice than change control board, because change control board would go through multiple approvals and we don't generally tend to add a lot of processes and approvals in Agile. Okay, in Agile, you will see these requests happening every day. And if you're sending all those requests to your change control board, then change control will have a lot of things to do in their hand, which they might not have time for. And it is unnecessary adding more time, adding more complexity, as in adding more process. You know that Agile projects will have a lot of changes. Then why not let the product owner take that decision? Why would you want to create a change control board for that? Right? That's why it is not a good choice. C, D is much better. Any questions, anyone? If not, then let's go ahead. Okay. So the idea here that we identify from the previous question is that in Agile, specific roles will have specific responsibilities. Okay. The project manager did not decide that, okay, let's go ahead with the project. The project manager cannot decide, even if it is high valuable. Right? Let the product owner take that decision. Okay. So there are three different roles in Agile. Product owner, who would bring the requirement, provide the requirement to the team will work on the requirement, and the facilitator, who would help the product owner and serve the development team as a leader. Right? So product owner discusses with the customer, prioritizes the requirement, and checks the completed work that the team will complete. Facilitator would promote the Agile practices, serve the team as servant leader, and supports the product owner. Okay, if the product owner is stuck, they want to understand something technically, they want to discuss with the team, or they have a conflict with the team, then the facilitator's role would come into picture. Development team would develop and test the product that they have developed. Whatever work they have done, they will update the information radiated with the work completed, and they will also support the product owner in prioritization. Okay, see, product owner does the prioritization for business value, right? But there would be some technical dependencies as well, which will be taken care by the development team, right? So three different roles, three different responsibilities. Nobody takes each other's responsibilities in the project. Okay, requirements and everything, prioritization of requirement, business side of it will be handled by the product owner. The development technical side of it will be handled by the team. The leadership management side of it will be done by the facilitator. Very three different roles, three different responsibilities. Okay, let us move to the next question. Again, put the answer in chat box, then we discuss. All right. So a project manager working on an infrastructure development project notices that few of the software tools used in the project will no longer be supported by the vendors, as those have now become obsolete. Okay, so we're working on a project and we realize that the software that we were using, now we will not be able to use it. A new software would be required to be purchased and installed for the use by the team, right? Preliminary analysis suggests impact on the project cost and schedule due to the change, right? Typically, right, I mean, very logical, a software tool that we will not be able to use and we'll have to install a new software. It will take some time, it will take some money as well, and that's what the preliminary analysis also suggests. Okay, now that's the situation. The question is, which action from the project manager could have prevented this situation? Okay, so what should the project manager have done that would have prevented this situation from arising? Let's see. Prioritize the deliverables with the product owner. Okay, see, just the prioritization of deliverables on what we are going to deliver might not have helped. Right? There's no relation between prioritizing the deliverable and the software that we are going to use to develop something in the infrastructure project. Should have made only partial payment to the supplier. Okay. In real life, we tend to do this. Okay, we say that okay, I'll not make the full payment to the supplier so that I also have something in my hand. I also have some kind of control, so that if they don't work properly, I will be able to drive that. Okay, I will not make the payment if you don't work properly. Right? It is kind of a reactive approach. Okay, what we look for in project management is a proactive approach, right? We should have planned for it in the beginning itself, and then we identify it as a risk, we plan a response for it. That's what we do, rather than saying that okay, I'll hold your money and I'll control the narrative, right? We don't have to do that, right? Does not look like a proactive approach, and hence we can eliminate it. C, purchased additional tools to support quick replacement. Okay, now this is a good option. Okay, see what is happening here. A software tool is not being used now, and you will have to purchase a new software tool. So instead of that, if in beginning itself you would have purchased additional tools to support the quick replacement if the software is no longer working, it would have been a good choice. Okay, but the point here is that is this the only action that we would have taken? Is this the only action that would have prevented the situation? Okay, so how would we know that this action is the best action to take? Only after analysis. So what we should have done, we should have identified, and planned the responses for the risk associated with the tools. Okay, so if we are using certain tools, then we have to think about those tools. Okay, what if the tool does not work? What if the tool goes for breakdown? What if the tool no longer exists? Right, so we have to think about the tools that we are doing as a risk, and we need to identify and plan those risks accordingly. Right, so we'll identify the risk, add into the risk register, and we'll plan a response. After the analysis, if our analysis suggests that this action is a good action, is a good mitigation, or any other response that we can take for risk management, then and only then we will take this action. Okay, so C is an action that is dependent on our analysis. Okay, D would have helped us prepare a response and would have helped us prevent the situation. That's why D is better than C. Okay? In many traditional approach questions, okay, they would be testing you on understanding the general flow. What are the general flow of activities in risk management? What are the general flow of activities in schedule management, scope management? They'll not ask you directly, okay, but this is how they would test you, right? That, okay, having an additional tool might also have helped, but planning a response is much better. And depending on how we have done the analysis, whatever the impact is, whatever the probability is, if that action is justified, only then we will take that action. Okay, so that general flow of activities is important because we are talking about risk management. So let us very quickly have a look at what is the general flow of activities in risk management. Okay, first, identify the risk, enter into the risk register. Okay, whatever risk have been entered into the risk register, try to understand more about it. Assess those risks for probability, impact, or any other factor. Is this risk related to some other risk? What is the urgency? What is the proximity? Right? You try to understand. You'll try to conduct qualitative and quantitative analysis on the risks that you have identified. Okay. Based on that assessment, prioritize your risk depending on what the probability is and what the impact is. If the probability is more, which means there are more chances, there are higher chances that the risk will happen. If the impact is more, which means that when the risk happens, it will create a lot of impact in the project. So higher probability, higher impact will become my high priority risk. Okay, so depending on that priority list, we will plan responses for the risks. If it is high probability and high impact, which means high priority, we'll try to avoid the event itself. Okay, if that is not possible, we'll try to mitigate it. Mitigate means reducing the probability, reducing the impact of the risk by doing extra tests, by adding extra resources. Okay, by doing some more work, we are trying to ensure that the risk's impact goes down, the probability of the risk goes down. Okay. We can also try to transfer the risk to somebody else, maybe an insurance company, maybe a third-party supplier. Okay, who is willing to take that event, who is willing to take that risk? We'll transfer that. For those risks which are low priority, low probability, and low impact, we will accept those risks. We'll enter it into the risk register and we'll say, okay, we don't need to plan a response for these. These are very, very, very low priority risk for us. If at all it happens, we will use our contingency reserve. Okay. Escalate is those risks which are not related to project or which are beyond project manager's authority. Those need to be escalated to the right people. It could be a sponsor, it could be procurement manager, it could be somebody else. Okay. Once we have planned the response, then what we need to do is we need to monitor all the project activities that are happening to check which risk is actually happened. And if it has happened, then we'll implement our risk responses. Whatever action that we have decided, we will take that. Then check the effectiveness of the response. Okay, just taking the action is not good enough. Okay, because the response that you have planned is your guess. I mean, not a guess, is your analysis, is your estimation, is your anticipation. Right? So you think that it will work, but whether it has worked or not, that also needs to be checked. Right? So you will check the effectiveness of the response and then plan or take any action if required. If any additional action is required, you will take that. See, many times what happens is that there is a risk, you had planned a response, but the response that you planned is not good enough. Right? So you may have to plan and do something else as well. Then communicate to the relevant stakeholders and update the risk documents. Update the risk register and update the risk report. Risk register is a central document for managing risk. The risk report is a document which is a consolidated information about the risk that you present to your management. Okay, this general flow is important to understand, and similar for other areas also. There are certain general flows that is important. Okay, ultimately it is about planning, taking action, and monitoring whether our action was proper or not. Right. Let's move to the next one. All right, so let's discuss this. While reviewing the contracts with finance team for a mega project spanning 3 years, the project manager notices that few of those contracts are not aligned with the project objectives. Okay, so it's a mega project. It is running for 3 years, and maybe it's a custom in the organization, or they have set a frequency that the project manager will discuss with finance team, and they will keep on reviewing the contracts just to ensure that all the contracts are up to date with whatever is required. So the project manager noticed that a few are not meeting with the objective or not aligned with the project objective. Okay. So what will be the most suitable action for the project manager to take? Now, in this situation, what should the project manager do? Okay, let's see. Revise the scope of work or terms of reference. Okay, I can see a lot of you have answered A as the correct choice. Okay, now see, what is the problem here? Okay, the problem is with the contract. Okay, the contract is not aligned to the project objective. What is the scope of work? Scope of work is the work that you want from the supplier. Terms of reference is the list of all the deliverables that you want from the suppliers. Right? Why would you revise that when the problem is with contract? Okay, so problem is with contract, resolve the contract. Okay, maybe revise the contract, maybe cancel the contract, maybe ask the suppliers to have a new contract, have a discussions. Right? You have to align the contract to the objective, not change the objective itself. Okay, although scope of work is not directly talking about objective, but the problem is with contract, so we'll work with the contract. Okay. So something is wrong today. This is option A. I'm sorry. Okay. Then we go to option B. Keep the contracts even though they do not align to the project objectives. It will not be a good choice. Okay. We have to do everything which is aligned to the objective, whether it is contract or anything else. Not a good choice. Then we go to C. Recommend to terminate the contracts that do not align with the project objectives. There's nothing wrong in that. Okay. See, many a times we say that terminating something is a huge action. Okay, it's a big action. We should be careful about it. Yes, we have to be careful about it, but those are also the decisions that we can take. See, if your contracts are not aligned to the objectives, cancel the contract. Have a new contract. Have a new contract with a new supplier if they are not agreeing to. Right? There's nothing wrong in that. What is happening in the project is there are certain contracts which is not aligned to the project objective, and you have noticed it now. So you cancel the contract and revise the contract. Okay. So as of now, we'll just keep it because it's not a bad option. We cannot eliminate it. Okay. If there is an option to revise the contract, maybe we'll do that. But as of now, let's keep it. Then we go to D. Ask the finance manager to revise the requirements of the contract. Okay, it is nothing but saying that change the scope of work or terms of reference. Okay, you are revising the requirements of the contract. So whatever the requirements are, you are revising that, but still it is not aligning to the objective. Okay, changing the requirements, changing the scope of work, or changing the terms of reference is not helping you change the contract itself. Okay, that's why this is also not a good choice. C is the best.
Amit, I have one question here.
Yes, please.
I am good with the answer, although I selected that one only. But
Mhm.
I just need to understand one point here.
Yeah.
Revising the requirements of contract. What does that mean? Requirements, revising the requirements of contract. Can you please help me again?
See, revising the requirements of contract means what are the contract, what are the requirements in the project, okay, that we are revising.
Okay, which means objectives, goals, scope, success
Yes,
criteria,
in a way
objectives.
we are talking about scope of work. In a way we are
Okay,
talking
okay,
about terms of reference.
okay, okay. So A and D are more or less the same.
Same thing, just explained in a different way.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Sir, can I speak something?
Yes, please.
Ravi Jadhav here. How could you say to terminate the contract if it is assumed that something is wrong with the contract, but it is not confirmed that it is something wrong with the contract? If we could revise the contract and if we could match according to the requirement of the contract, why wouldn't we do it?
See, revising the contract is fine, but what are you revising is important, right? What are you doing is you are changing your scope of work itself. Okay, so there's a contract that we have created which is not aligned to objective somehow. Okay, and we are saying that okay, whatever we need from the supplier, we will change that itself. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to revise the contract. If there was an option where it says that okay, let us revise the contract itself, we would have gone with that. Okay, in absence of that, we are going with option C because A and D both are saying revise the requirement itself. Okay, we'll not revise the requirement, we'll revise the contract. We'll maybe put the language in a way, we'll put the terms and condition in a way that it is aligned to the objective. Okay, so we'll revise the contract, not the requirement itself or not the scope of work itself. Okay, that is why we are going with C. What you're saying is absolutely correct. We have to revise the contract, but that option is not there, and hence we are going with C.
Okay.
Am I able to clarify?
Okay. Agree.
Okay. So now, whenever you look at procurement-related questions, okay, there are certain important concepts and terms for procurement that you should definitely know. Okay, what are those terms? Statement of work and terms of reference. Okay, it is the work that we want from the supplier. Okay, it describes the work to be done, including deliverables, milestones, and acceptance criteria that we provide it to our suppliers so that they would understand what is their scope of work. Another is make or buy analysis. This is a process that we use to determine whether we want to make in-house or we want to buy from external suppliers. Third is type of bid documents. Okay, bid documents are those documents where you are asking the supplier for the expression of interest. Okay, whether they're interested in it or not. So you will be releasing these bid documents. There are three types of bid documents: request for information, where you are only looking for suppliers' information. What is the organization like? What is the organization structure, hierarchy metrics, what kind of business they have done, what kind of projects they have done. You're only looking for information. Request for quotation is where you're looking for the price. Okay, you want to know, you have the solution, you just want to know how they would provide this solution that you have, what would be their product that they will use, and what would be the cost of it. Okay, so when you are only looking for how much they will charge, you release a request for quotation bid. But if you don't have the solution also and you are dependent on the supplier for solution, then you request for proposal where they provide you the money plus the design as well, or the plus the solution as well. Right? So three different type of bid document. Request for information, quote means only money, proposal means money plus solution. Then we have different type of contracts. Okay, one is fixed price, where the buyer's price is fixed. The amount that the buyer will pay is fixed. Cost reimbursable, where the buyer would pay the cost that the supplier is incurring plus certain margin and profit. Time and material is where the payment is based on how much time is being spent and how much material has been supplied. Okay, so it is kind of a rate contract. depending on the time and depending on the material that has been used. So if you have their engineers or have the suppliers personnel that will be provided at a particular rate, if you use them for 1 month, you pay for 1 month. If they are useful for 6 months, you pay for 6 months. Similarly with materials. Then there are certain variations in contract. Okay, it is used to ensure that there is a win-win situation. And the variations is that in the fixed price or cost reimbursable type of contract, you can add either incentives or awards. The difference is incentives are objective. Okay, which means you will decide the incentives in the beginning itself when you are finalizing the contract. That if you deliver 2 weeks early, I'll pay you 1% extra. If you can reduce the cost by 10%, I'll give you 2% extra. Okay. Awards are something that are decided at the end when the material has been supplied. So once the material has been supplied, when the service has been provided by the supplier, then you check their performance and you say that, okay, based on this performance, we'll provide you the award. So in the beginning of the contract, you will mention that your performance would be measured at the end of the project. And depending on how you have performed, we will provide you some award. You will not declare what that award would be in the beginning. It will be decided at the end. And you means the buyer. Okay, so incentives are objective, decided in the beginning itself. Awards are subjective, which will be decided at the end, depending on how the suppliers have performed. Right? So understand the procurement concepts well. Okay, these are the most important ones. Chances are that you will see it in the exam. You should know it very, very well. Let's move to the last question of the day. All right, so let's discuss this. A project manager was reported by a team member that the quality of a component of the product completed doesn't meet the requirements set by the stakeholders. What should the project manager do first? Okay, so when you realize or when you come to know or when you are observed or when you are reported that the quality requirements have not met, what is the first thing you will do? Okay, analyze and discuss the cost of rework with the team member. Yes, right? So when we know that it has not met the requirements, we will try to analyze and discuss the cost of rework. But is it the first thing that we will do? We don't know. Let's park it. We will definitely do that. Okay, but there could be any other thing which might happen before. So we'll compare the options and then we will see. Review the quality management plan. Okay, see if it has not met the requirements, it's a good practice to go back to the quality management plan and just check what did we plan for it. Okay, so we have plan for everything. So we'll have a plan for what to do when we don't meet the requirements. Right? It's a very good choice. Will I do this before analyzing and discussing the cost of rework? Yes. That's why now I can eliminate A. Then I go to C. Ask the team members to build the product component again. Let's wait for that. Okay, this is not the first thing that I will do. It is just that we have come to know that it has not met the requirements. Let us understand it. Let us analyze it. Let us see what the plan is saying. Let us discuss with the team. And then if required, we'll have to build the product component again. Or maybe we just need to do some modification. Right? So C is not a good choice. Perform a root cause analysis for the defects identified. Yes, absolutely. Right? If there's a problem that has happened, if it has not met the requirements, we will do that. But that's not the question what we'll do. The question is, what should the project manager do first? Now, the choices are review the quality management plan or perform the root cause analysis. It is always better to just check what the plan says before doing anything else. Okay, there's a reason we have created the plan. There's a reason we have spent so much time. We spend so much time in traditional approach project to create a detailed plan. Right? There are 19 different type of plan documents itself that we create in traditional approach project. Right? It takes a lot of effort. You spend 3 months, 4 months in a 1 year project in just planning. Right? The reason is that when we face these kind of scenarios, changes, issues, risks, quality requirements not met, anything, we should be able to go back to the plan to just check, okay, did we plan anything for this? If not, then it's a different thing. Okay. But reviewing the quality management plan is a very good choice to do first whenever you see that something has happened with respect to quality. If it was about change, we'll look at change management plan. If it was about risk, we'll look at risk management plan, right? So it is always a good thing to review the document first before doing anything else. That's why B is a better choice. Is it clear, everyone? Why B is
Yes,
better than D, especially?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? So the mindset here is that there is an importance to planning documents. Okay, and the importance is that planning document helps us align everyone on the same page throughout the product lifecycle. Okay, planning is not done only for execution. Planning is done for monitoring and controlling. Planning is done for closure as well. Right? So throughout the life cycle, it helps us bring everyone to the same page. Next is it also helps us set the performance targets. Okay, scope, schedule, cost, quality related targets that you have to set. So planning document will help you in that. Then planning also serves as communication tool between the project manager, team, stakeholders, and management. Right? If you have a plan document, then you don't have to go for a meeting. You don't have to call up someone. They will look at the plan and they'll follow the plan. Right? So it also serves as a communication tool. Then it also helps identify and manage the problems proactively. When you create a risk management plan, when you create how you are going to solve the problems in the project, right? It helps you identify and be prepared for those problems. And it also helps you with a framework to deal with issues that would happen in the project. Right? So now if the planning is helping me in dealing the problem, so when I see the problem, I'll first refer to the plan. Okay, what does the framework say? What do I have to do? Do I have to inform someone? Do I have to enter into the issue log? Do I have to write a mail? Do I have to write a letter? What is it that I have to do? Do I have to put it on a notice board? Right? It could be anything. Right? So what we'll do is we'll just have a look at the plan. Okay, the problem has happened. Let us review the plan. Did we plan anything for this? Right? So it's always better to have a review of the plan before doing anything. It also provides framework to manage changes throughout the project. Right? So how are we going to manage changes? How are we going to manage risk? How are we going to manage issues? How are we going to set targets? How are we going to communicate with people? How are we going to ensure that everybody understands whatever we are doing? Everything would be there in the plan. Okay. So if you see an option where it says that review the plan, and the question is asking what will you do first, it could be a correct choice. Before doing the analysis, before understanding, before calling for a meeting, reviewing a plan is a good practice to have. Okay. So those were the 5 questions that we discussed for today. Okay. Any questions, anyone, anything that you want to discuss before we close our day?
Amit, hi.
Hi, Vedant. Please go ahead.
If the question said that instead of informed, it was observed, will the answer be D?
No. See, anyways, whether it is observed or it was informed or it was reported, right? You would still want to review the plan first. Okay, and then you will conduct the analysis, because plan would tell you what is to be done when you observe something, when it is reported to you, when it is informed to you. There will be a plan that will tell you what is to be done. Okay, so reviewing the quality management plan is not a bad choice. You will not see this choice in many of the questions, but whenever you see that, okay, understand that, okay, we are just trying to get a guidance on what should be done. And it's not a bad thing to get a guidance and then do something which is important. Okay, so the answer is that no, it will not change.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other question, anyone?
Okay, Amit, yeah, I have one question.
Yes, please.
So the question belongs to that. I guess it was second question or third question. I don't know the number correctly,
So,
but where we have to ask product owner about the prioritization rather
yes,
than going to the change control board. So
correct.
I am okay with the answer, but because in Agile we are actually having the product owner role for this purpose only. But
Yes.
let me go with one real time example. What was happening in my last organization?
Mhm.
So definitely we would be going to the product owner to seek the prioritization. But what they usually do is product owner definitely checks with the development team and the QA team about the LOE required to complete that change.
Mhm.
And if we can able to accommodate that LOE, which is the level of effort, if we can able to accomplish it in the sprint, then it's
Mhm.
fine. But if not, then we shall again route the request to the change control board. And we were using 2 weeks of sprints. So we were
Correct.
having Agile in place. Now, my understanding here is that I was actually not very much sure. My understanding was that we were having change control board with the Agile methodology as well. But as you
Mhm.
said today, that in Agile we do not have any such practice or any such change control board in place. So just want to understand your thought process on that.
See, the idea is that we try to avoid extra processes, extra approvals, extra document, extra structures in Agile because we need to be upfront with the changes. Okay, we want to understand the change, we want to discuss the change, and we want to quickly work on those changes. Right? It is about getting to the action as quickly as possible. Okay, so a change control board or a process of approval or an integrated change control process that okay, I put in the system, then you go to for first level of approval, then second level of approval, then third level of approval. It will take a lot of time. Okay, and in Agile, you want to be very quick in terms of decision making. Okay, hence what we do is we have kept a person called product owner who can take those decisions. Now, if you are working in an organization which requires the approval because of the industry norms, because of the way the business happens, because of the way the organization has matured, okay, then you will have a change control board. There's nothing wrong in that. Okay, the only thing is that then it is not purely agile. Okay, so in agile we don't talk about this complex structure, we don't talk about these complex processes because we want to be free. We want to give a free hand to the product owner so that they can decide. If they need training, if they need discussion, they will do that. But you have to give them the free hand to decide. Right? If you are incorporating a change control board, then you can say that you are managing more of a hybrid project, okay, than an agile project. Right? So the agile
Okay.
mindset is that let the product owner take the decision of the changes. Okay, if you incorporate one more structure to it, then you are kind of making it a little bit predictive approach kind of way, more like a traditional approach mixed with agile. So that's why we call it a hybrid approach.
Okay, that satisfies the answer, I guess. So, which is pretty neatly defined in responding to change rather than following the plan.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks. Thanks, Amit.
Okay, no problems. All right. Anyone else? Any other question? Okay. If not, then thanks a lot for your time. Okay. I hope these sessions are helping. Okay. Although the question that you saw today were a little bit easier, but the lessons were important, and hence I put those. Not wasting time on discussing the question why the twists and turns are there, but the lessons are important. That agile ceremonies are for specific agile purposes. Agile roles have specific agile responsibilities. Traditional approach, general flow of the work is very, very important. And if you have a document, it is good to review that document before doing anything else. Okay, these lessons are important. Those lessons need to be highlighted. That's why the questions were easy. Okay, there will be difficult questions also that we will discuss. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you
hi.
so much, everyone. Thanks a lot for your time. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you
Good
very much.
day. Bye.
Thank you, Amit.
Hello.
You're saying something, Anjali?
Yeah. Today you have another time. I
Another
need to
time as
discuss
in?
some mock